The Lord of the Rings. The Rings of Power repeats a redemption story from the Two Towers, even ending it the same way by killing the character off. The Rings of Power is based on the Second Age of Middle-earth outlined in J.R.R. Tolkien's books, but its characters, backdrops, and themes heavily mirror those seen in The Lord of the Rings. Although there are complaints about the Amazon show's approach to the source material, it's clear that it's trying to recapture everything that makes Tolkien's Third Age story, and Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies, so great. And in some cases, The Rings of Power directly copies the events of The Lord of the Rings. Sauron rising in the west, while a dark wizard emerges in the east, is just one example of this. Another is King Durin III's character arc, which closely resembles a narrative from the Two Towers. Although the characters have no connection to one another, Durin III's journey in Season 2 repeats a story already told through King Theoden. It even ends the same way, as both characters have similarly tragic fates. The Rings of Power Season 2's Durin III story closely followed Theoden in the Two Towers. Both characters are corrupted, then die seeking redemption. The Rings of Power Season 2's Durin III story closely mirrors Theoden's narrative in the Two Towers and the Return of the King, as both characters start and end their arcs in the same place. In the Two Towers, Theoden is corrupted by Saruman, who puts a spell on the King of Rohan in order to control him. It's only thanks to interference from Gandalf and the Fellowship that Theoden regains his freedom, and he then seeks redemption by fighting Sauron's forces and coming to Gondor's aid. Unfortunately, he dies on the battlefield, bringing his redemption to a sad end. Durin III's story in The Rings of Power Season 2 follows a similar trajectory, as he's also a good king who is corrupted by a dark influence. In his case, the ring of power he receives from Sauron makes him greedy and irrational, pushing him to seek riches and power to the dwarf's detriment. He eventually sees the error of his ways, but like Theoden, he dies redeeming himself. He sacrifices his life to save Durin VI and Khazad-dûm from the Balrog he inadvertently awakens in his quest to mine more mithril. The Rings of Power's Durin III story was still good, even if it mirrored the Two Towers. It makes sense within the context of the Amazon show. King Durin III, Peter Mullen, on his throne surrounded by gold and wealth in The Lord of the Rings. The Rings of Power Season 2 Episode 6. Durin III's Rings of Power arc may mirror Theoden's in the Two Towers, but that doesn't make it any less compelling. The Rings of Power changes Durin III's story from the source material, as Durin III and Durin VI aren't father and son in Tolkien's writings, nor are they alive at the same time. Within the context of the show's changes, however, Durin III's story makes a lot of sense. His Season 2 death gives Durin VI the chance to step up as a leader, and it shows the far-reaching impact the Rings of Power have on every race in Middle-earth. The fallout of Durin III's death is sure to be felt in the Rings of Power Season 3, which will have an opportunity to explore the aftermath in more depth than The Lord of the Rings does with Theoden. Both characters are great examples of good triumphing over evil in Tolkien's world, demonstrating how the darkness can be overcome, and how those who fall prey to it can find their way back. The Lord of the Rings. The Rings of Power sends that message effectively through Durin III's final scene. It hits all the right emotional beats and opens the door for interesting developments in future episodes.